Straight talk leads to straight understanding. Sean Bolden, Sean B. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? All right. Welcome, 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 welcome. This is Straight Talk leads to straight understanding. As you know, my name is Sean Bolden, Sean B. However you know me, I hope you can hear me well. And tonight we're about to get it on. This is episode number 12. And I will be making it short yet brief for all those who are going to chime in. All right. First off, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, H2O. This is a CBD infused water. Get it at a place close to you in the Los Angeles area. Yes, we are in several 7-Elevens. They are in several gyms, Simply Wholesome, some other health food stores, Union Station, terminals at the airport. These are all the places. We are working on other places, but these are places where you get it. If it's not near you, ask about it. Anywhere in Los Angeles, ask about it. If we don't have it, maybe when you ask, they'll be able to get it. And yes, it is CBD that comes from hemp. And because it's hemp derived, it is no THC and legal everywhere. All right, with that being said, we're going to move forward. My name is Sean Bolden, Sean B. However you know me, and this is Straight Talk leads to straight understanding. Well, tonight, we're going to discuss a couple of things. There was a video that I saw that I'm going to speak on. It was a video featuring a young lady named Sarah. What's her name? Sarah. I forgive me if I am not saying your name correctly, Sarah, but it's Sarah. You'll have her tag when you see the video. Sarah Lane, I believe it is, but I will definitely identify. But anyway, she said some interesting things that I want to address and that I want to speak on. You know, I've been having some conversations and I'm starting to just understand where I am and how I am might be, just a bit different. So with that being said, I'm going to definitely speak on it. If you have any questions, if you want to join me, I'm going to put the link inside the chat. I'm going to create a link and put it inside the chat so you can definitely come and join me. There it is, the link. It's on YouTube, by the way. Subscribe. As you can see, subscribe, like, comment. That's what it says on the bottom. Subscribe, like, comment. And I thank you for doing it in advance. Thank you for whoever is joining me. So with that being said, let's get started. She's speaking and giving some advice to men. And I am going to listen to the advice and I'm going to comment on what I think about it. All right. I think that ultimately, when I first initially heard it, I'll just play it and then we'll go from there. All right.
Here. Love her and desire her, and you still think she's bad. Men love differently.
All right. Let's start it from here.
It's something that I know many men do unintentionally, so hopefully this can help you gain a better understanding from a woman's perspective. Scenario: your woman tells you that she isn't feeling very secure in the relationship and she is seeking reassurance.
Now she said, scenario, your woman is feeling insecure about the relationship. And so she said that she needed some reassurance. All right. So keep that in mind. We're going to let it play. Let it continue to play.
You are the type of man who genuinely does care about his woman's feelings, and you don't want her to feel that way. So in your attempts to help her feel better and relieve some of the doubt that she's carrying, you go on to use logic to explain to her why she should not feel that way. You mentioned that men love differently than women do, and that she should focus on your actions more than your words. You even list out all of the things that you do for her. You mentioned the sacrifices you've made, the things that you tolerate from her, how hard you work, how you try to relieve some stresses from her. All of this may very well be valid. However, In addition to her not having the reassurance she was initially seeking, she is now also feeling like a burden to you, and she no longer wants to ask you for things or receive things from you. And so shortly after the conversation, you may start to notice some hyper independent tendencies starting to surface, right?
Okay, I'm going to pause it there real quick. And the reason why I'm pausing is because I don't want it to continue on so far beyond being able to uh, recognize what she's saying. So we're gonna do it this way. First off, she said your woman. The scenario is your woman is feeling insecure. That was her first. She said your woman is feeling insecure. Now, with that scenario, I just want to understand because they say, or she said that just now she's feeling further, has a problem further. The problem was feeling insecure. That was the scenario that she laid out there. And sometimes, and we'll get into this, I feel like instead of resolving the problem, it's often looked at to where they want to just make a person feel good who has the problem. So I'll leave it there and I'll let her continue.
Now, perhaps you're the type of man who likes to act as his woman's therapist instead, right? You like to assess your woman. And so, in your attempts to make her not feel the way she's feeling, you explain to her that her emotional demands are unrealistic because of her trauma, because of her childhood, her teenage years, her daddy issues, her mommy issues, her past relationship. Again, though there may be some truth to what you're saying, it doesn't help the situation because if in fact trauma is the reason why her emotional needs are so high and she still manages to openly express her feelings as opposed to suppressing them or arguing them like most people with unhealed trauma do, then you not meeting that openness with compassion only contributes to the trauma that you claim she has. And so now, in addition to her not having the reassurance she was seeking, she's also now feeling unsafe with you emotionally because she's experiencing what feels like rejection, and she also feels like you use her vulnerabilities against her. Though in hindsight, she may understand that you have pure intentions when you are taking these approaches, they are still ineffective in the moment because feelings are going to be much more powerful than logic when you're having tough conversations with a romantic partner. So much so that you yourself will begin to start feeling some type of way when trying to use logic. You'll feel frustrated and impatient. You'll feel unheard, dismissed, unappreciated, devalued. And after a while, the logic loses completely because you'll both be walking around in your feelings, in your emotions, right? Now, I realize that it is innate within you as a masculine individual to hear something like this and shift the focus to who is at fault. Your competitive nature makes you want to debate, discredit, and defend yourself. But this is partially why you are not getting good results. So here's some advice for any man who is open to receiving it. Provide the logic after you have given the reassurance. Most women would be more than willing to listen to you explain whatever you want to explain after you have said to her that you still love her and desire her and you still think she's beautiful. You're not thinking about any other woman. You still want to build a future with her and grow old with her. Grab her by her hands, look her in the eyes, sit her down on your lap, tell her these things, and she will soften to hear what you have to say. When she feels like she does not have security, she will provide her own, which looks like her hardening herself to create a guard, a shield, meaning you will waste precious time spending several minutes trying to explain something to her that is not going to get through. So again, compassion before conclusion. It keeps her soft, problem solved, everyone wins.
Okay. All right. All right. That last part, compassion before conclusion, problem solved. Okay, we're gonna listen to it. I'm gonna go piece by piece this time. I'm gonna answer and comment during each scenario because she made some valid points. She made some valid points, but I'm going to comment and tell you what I think about it. Now let's start it. Let's start all over.
something that I know many men do unintentionally, so hopefully this can help you gain a better understanding from a woman's perspective. Scenario: your woman tells you that she isn't feeling very secure in the relationship and she is seeking reassurance.
Now, scenario. First off, she said from a woman's point of view, help us out from a woman's point of view. Okay, I understand that. And she's speaking from a woman's point of view. I'm speaking from a man's point of view. All right. Scenario. Your woman, let's repeat it. Scenario.
You are the type of man.
Scenario.
And she is seeking reassurance. Now, you are very secure in the relationship.
Scenario.
And she is seeking reassurance. Now, you are the type of
secure in a relationship and she is seeking reassurance. So, with that scenario, what's the problem? The problem is she's insecure in a relationship, correct or incorrect? Let me know. Help me understand. Mike, I see you there. Is that the problem in this scenario that she's depicting? Sarah, you're depicting this scenario of she's feeling insecure and seeking reassurance. So you gave a problem and a solution all in one, according to how you feel. Gave a problem and a solution, seeking resolution. Now, the reassurance, I'm sorry. Now, the issue that as a man, how we think is that you're not giving a solution. You're giving us ways to deflect dealing with the problem. You're giving us ways to kind of just cover up the problem as opposed to resolving it, a resolution. And what we're usually looking for is a resolution so that we don't have to revisit the problem, not so that we can just, make you feel better or reassure you, as you stated. We want to actually uh, help out not having the problem, not reassuring you that you're insecure. The problem being you're insecure. I did invite appreciate that. The problem is you're insecure. So let's continue.
Man who genuinely does care about his woman's feelings and you don't want her to feel that way. So in your attempts to help her feel better and relieve some of the doubt that she's carrying, you go on to use logic to explain to her why she should not feel that way.
No, we're not trying to make her feel better. We're trying to resolve the issue. And that's probably where we have a disconnect, because you're thinking that, yes, we do care about your feelings. And yes, we are very concerned about how you're feeling. But we're not trying to make you feel better in the moment. We're trying to actually help get you through the root, or get to the root of what's making you feel insecure in the first place, because that insecurity can rear its ugly head in our future. Now, if it's just your future, we ain't got no problem. We can't say nothing about it. But when it becomes our future, because we're in a relationship, we're not thinking just simply about your feelings. We're thinking about the totality of how it can affect our relationship. So you made some good points to that, but I just want you to understand that, she made some good points to that, but I just wanted her to understand that we're not trying to make you feel better. We're trying to resolve what initially, as you posed, the problem is, which was her feeling insecure. Continue.
You mentioned that men love differently than women do, and that you should focus on your actions more than your words. You even list out all of the things that you do for her. You mentioned the sacrifices you've made, the things that you tolerate from her, how hard you work, how you try to release some stresses from her. All of this may very well be valid. However, in addition to her not having the reassurance she was initially seeking, she is now also feeling like a burden to you.
So now she just went from, because we tried to give advice and we tried to give some type of making her feel better. According to what you're saying, she just went from feeling insecure to now she's feeling like a burden. Now we have two issues. Let's continue.
She no longer wants to ask you for things or receive things from you. And so shortly after the conversation, you may start.
And now she no longer wants to ask you about things. So she has two issues, and she doesn't now want to ask you for anything. So, including advice. So she's resolving this all within herself because of how she feels. So she's coming up with she's insecure according to the scenario and feeling and wants reassurance because she's feeling insecure. We want a resolution because we don't want you to feel insecure at any moment because that can cause destructive behavior in our relationship. Then on top of it, now because we bring that to attention and I wouldn't say that I wouldn't do say some of the things, but I might because you say some things as far as what's going on and what you're assessing according to what you say later on. Now she's feeling uh, not just insecure, but now we've added insecure, and now she's feeling inadequate. I'm not quoting you, I'm just saying my own words. This is what you're saying. And now we have two issues. We started out with one, now we got two. Let's continue.
Start to notice some hyper independent tendencies starting to surface, right?
So now we got hyper independent tendencies. So we have insecurity, now inadequacy, and hyper independent security because we're having a discussion about it. Okay, continue.
Now, perhaps you're the type of man who likes to act as his woman's therapist instead, right?
Now, if you notice how she said, act like a woman's therapist, this is why we have a disconnect. Because you think that when we're giving advice because we're seeing an issue that can affect our future, we're being that therapist. No, we're giving advice to secure, or we're not even giving advice. We're sharing with you things that we're recognizing, that we're observing. We're observing it, assessing it, as you might say, as you said later. And now you're calling it a therapist. So now you're bringing in a fourth issue. We got inadequacy. We got insecurity. We got feeling like a burden. And now we have the last one, which you just said.
You like to assess your woman. And so in your attempts to make her not feel
so after the
you
burden,
may start to notice some hyper independent tendencies starting to surface, right? Now, perhaps you're the type of man
hyper independent tendencies. So we got insecurity is what it started out with. Insecurity, and she wanted reassurance. All right. Then we got, now that we're recognizing that she's feeling like a burden. When we bring some of this to her attention, she feels like a burden now. Okay. So she's insecure, feels like a burden. I'm missing one because I said four things. And now hyper independent tendencies. Okay. Let's continue. This is all, according to what you're saying, this is all what she's feeling. All right, let's continue.
Man who likes to act as his woman's therapist instead, right? You like to assess your woman.
Now, if I'm assessing anything, would you think I would assess this? Now, when you even, like I said just now, you're speaking to me, a woman's therapist, you have now body language that is speaking to me. Not just your words, Sarah. Now your body language is speaking. Your body language, your attempt. Now, yeah, my attempt to help out. Thank you, Mike. Now your body language, a therapist. So your body language says to me, and just you saying that there's a negative connotation to what you're calling therapist. It's not welcomed. It's not something that you're doing that you're looking at as a constructive way. You're looking at it destructive. You're being cynical about it, but you're not saying that. But you're saying that we should embrace this cynicism that you're projecting through your body language. Let's look at it again. I want you to see.
Be valid. However, in addition to her not having the reassurance she was initially seeking, she is now also feeling like a burden to you. and she no longer wants to ask you for things or receive things from you. And so shortly after the conversation, you may start to notice some hyper independent tendencies starting to surface, right? Now, perhaps you're the type of man who likes to act as his woman's therapist instead, right? You like to assess your woman. And so in your attempts to make her not feel the way she's feeling, you explain to her that her emotional demands are unrealistic because of her trauma, because of her childhood, her teenage years, her daddy issues, her mommy issues, her past relationship. Again, though there may be some truth to what you're saying, it doesn't help the situation, because if in fact trauma is the reason why her emotional needs are so high and she still manages to openly express her feelings as opposed to suppressing them or arguing them like most people with unhealed trauma do, then you not meeting that openness with compassion only contributes to the trauma that you claim she has.
Now, Sarah, I agree with you there. I agree with, because of your scenarios, why I agree. You said the scenario is that she is feeling insecure and looking for reassurance, not resolution. So she's looking for reassurance, and that's a key component to the discussion that you're speaking about. You, in that scenario, you're absolutely right, because she's looking for reassurance. So if that's the case and that's what she's looking for, then you're right. We need to put our resolution, take our resolution hat off and put our reassurance hat on. So basically, we need to just kind of say, comfort you. Yes, I understand, baby. Yes, baby, you don't have to feel that way. Yes, and to your point, need to have compassion at that point. If the issue is, again, I want to say, you gave out the scenario that the issue is that she's insecure. We identified that she's insecure, and you said she's seeking reassurance. So if that's all she's seeking, then compassion is absolutely, I agree with you. We need to take off our hat of resolution, which I was speaking about earlier, and put on our compassionate hat, which we have the capability of doing. And if we don't, we need to mature and be able, emotionally mature, to be able to respond and give you that compassion that you're speaking about, because really that compassion is the reassurance that you're referring to, not a resolution. And I'm saying that specifically because, again, you didn't ask in this scenario, you didn't lay out a resolution. So I'm corrected. I stand corrected. I was going on the resolution that naturally we like to do. Let's continue.
So now, in addition to her not having the reassurance she was seeking, she's also now feeling unsafe with you emotionally because she's experiencing what feels like rejection, and she also feels like you use her vulnerabilities against her. Though in hindsight, she may understand that you have pure intention.
Now, while all of these things, and I do got to go back, because even though we're being we didn't be compassionate. We were, as Mike said, we were making an attempt to get a resolution. Our fault. We shouldn't do that when they're and seeking, in this case scenario, reassurance. We listen clearly, like I just did, and I didn't initially. We listen clearly, we hear what they're seeking, reassurance. And to your point, you're absolutely right. We do need to listen so that we can give what's being asked of, which is reassurance. But let's go back to and you said this, our assessment, it doesn't give a resolution to the problem. We need to calm her down. We get it. We need to calm her down with the reassurance in this scenario. And this, I think, is part of, I'm going to let you finish and then I'm going to tell you, I think this is part of the disconnect, because a lot of times when seeking reassurance, we're looking for a resolution, because this isn't usually the first time this has happened, because she's insecure, because of her issues that you just said, trauma issue, past issues. This isn't the first time we have to deal with emotions that are controlling you instead of you controlling your emotions. So now that you're not controlling your emotions and we're dealing with it, that becomes why we sometimes are not as compassionate to the reassurance or the moment. But you make some good points, so I can't knock you there. You made some good points. Let's continue.
When you are taking these approaches, they are still ineffective in the moment, because feelings are going to be much more powerful than logic when you're having tough conversations with a romantic partner. So much so that you yourself will begin to start feeling some type of way when trying to use logic. You'll feel frustrated and impatient. You'll feel unheard, dismissed, unappreciated, devalued.
And you just lent to my point, because you're right. It does in the moment. This is the disconnect sometimes between women and men. That women sometimes think of in the moment when men think in the future. We're beyond the moment. We're not even in the moment. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just sharing like how you're sharing about the woman's point of view. I'm sharing about the man's point of view. We're not in the moment. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about how many of these moments we've already had. How many times do we have to go through these same moments? How many times are we going to have to reassure you so that we don't have to continue to repeat this? That's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about the future usually, not the moment. And like I said, it could be to our disadvantage, because I said to one of my exes, I said, yo, it would have been a lot easier of a relationship had I just told you everything you wanted to hear. Because you're in your feelings often. So when I tell you everything you want to hear, it does exactly what you're speaking about right now. Let's continue.
And after a while, the logic loses completely, because you'll both be walking around in your feelings, in your emotions, right? Now, I realize that.
Now, she's absolutely right there. Now that she's in her feelings and we're getting nowhere by trying to we didn't do the right thing to calm her down. She's absolutely right. I got to give it to her with this scenario. The scenario, again, I got to emphasize the scenario that she laid out. It's not the usual scenario, but the scenario she laid out, she's making a valid point. The scenario is she's insecure, but she's looking for reassurance. And if that's the case, then guess what? I cannot argue some of the things that Sarah's speaking, because she's actually making some great points for that scenario. So we'll continue.
It is innate within you as a masculine individual to hear something like this and shift the focus to who is at fault. Your competitive nature.
Your competitive nature. We do shift it to who's at fault, because again, our innate energy is to get a resolution. To get a resolution, we have to find the root of the issue. We have to find the root of the problem. And that's what you're considering at fault. Now, I'm like, hey, our innate is not competitive always. Yeah, people are competitive, but if we're being compassionate and you're thinking that we're being competitive and our compassion is making us want to be able to get to a resolution and not just put a band-aid on the issue, but heal the issue, then you're misreading it. And so I have to bring to your attention the misinterpretation. And because you're in your emotions at the moment, perhaps I could bring it to you another time. But what happens is when we bring it up another time, often it's not something that still registers. So you need the time to process it, or you need the moment to process it. And I gave an example today. It's like speaking to somebody about in mathematics. The analogy is mathematics, and you're speaking to them and you're trying to and they want to speak about addition and subtraction when you're speaking about multiplication. The moment to me is addition and subtraction, the bare minimal of what we're speaking about. That's addition and subtraction. The future is multiplication. How do we go on? Addition and subtraction is part of multiplication at times, but multiplication is what I'm referring to. It's not the moment and how you're feeling. It's the moments that will come, the multiplying moments that will come, that is part of a man's innate nature to get to. It's not about the feeling of the exact moment we're talking about the future moment, so that we can avoid and eliminate these moments repeating. And that's part of why we are, quote unquote, trying to, we're not being competitive. And that's part of the cynicism when you use words like competitive, or you use earlier the word of therapist, and you use it in a negative kind of a negative tone or connotation. And now you can argue, I didn't mean it that way. But yes, negative connotation, cynical perspective, that too becomes an issue for our future, because we got to get you unlearned and out of that cynical mindset, and being able to trust that we're not attacking you, we're not uh uh leaving you because you're feeling these ways, because you feel attacked, because you feel insecure. That doesn't mean that that exists. That just means what you feel. And this is why you sometimes think that we're not being mindful of it, but in fact, we're just not accepting or receiving or giving it credence. Now, for our children, we might do that, but you also will speak, I'm a grown person, I'm not a child. But then when we treat you like we would treat our children, and here's how Miss Lecko said it, it's like when our children say, "There's a boogeyman in the closet." You come in, what? A boogeyman in that closet? Hold on. You go in that closet, boom, 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 boom. You act as if you're fighting a boogeyman, and you come out, I got that boogeyman. And guess what? Now they feel reassured. Now they feel more confident, like you heard them, and you embrace that, you acknowledge that this uh boogeyman that doesn't exist, but you acknowledge that it did. You acknowledged how that child felt, and you even played along with it to validate or reassure their feelings. Now, as a child, we can do that for our children, but in a relationship, you when you don't separate the two, sometimes it can become problematic. So let's continue.
Makes you want to debate, discredit, and defend yourself. But this is partially why you are not.
Debate, discredit, and defend ourselves. No, we're not competitive to debate, discredit. No, we're not competitive to try and make you debate. We're trying to make you rationalize that there's no boogeyman in that closet. And as an adult, we can't even comprehend why you even think there's a boogeyman in the closet. But without resorting to thinking of, okay, well, maybe it's childhood, or maybe it's something in her head. We can't even conceive why you would feel this way. What is it that makes you think there's a boogeyman in the closet? What is it that makes you think you're insecure? So we're not trying to always jump in the closet like we do our children. We're actually trying to say, you know what? Like I know, because we're all adults here, that there's no boogeyman. So you should know from our actions or whatever, I don't know why you feel inadequate, why you feel insecure. But that is the root of the issue that we're glossing over all the time, that we want to go in that closet and fight the boogeyman. So we fight the boogeyman for you initially. We go ahead and we reassure you. Go in the closet and we reassure you, yeah, we understand that there's a boogeyman, and it's validated and adequate, and these things right here. I'm gonna repeat this. She said, so we're doing all these things when we go fight the boogeyman.
Logic loses completely, because you'll both be walking around in your feelings, in your emotions, right? Now, I realize that it is innate within you as a masculine individual to hear something like this and shift the focus to who is at fault. Your competitive nature makes you want to debate, discredit, and defend yourself. But this is partially why you are not getting good results. So,
right. So we're debating and defending ourselves. What do we need defense on? The fact that you're feeling attacked? I understand she needs to be calmed down. It's called controlling your emotions. The root of it all, and the issue is, you're not controlling your emotions. The suggestion is learn better how to control your emotions. Let's continue.
Here's some advice for any man who is open to receiving it. Provide the logic after you have given the reassurance. Most women would be more than willing to listen to you explain whatever you want to explain after you have said to her that you still love her and desire her and you still think she's beautiful. You're not thinking about any other woman. You still want to build a future with her and grow old with her. Grab her by her hands, look her in the eyes, sit her down on your lap, tell her these things, and she will soften to hear what you have to say.
Now, Mr. Lecker also says women are children. Now, I argue with him. Women are not children. But then what you just described is that boogeyman scenario. Reassure her. Make sure that she knows, okay, I understand there's a boogeyman. This is what he said. He said, yo, when you go ahead and you tell her, yeah, there's a boogeyman, and what you need me to, and here's the scenario he said, somebody come and you come home and you like, yeah, these girls, they all talking about me at work and this, that, and another. You like, yo, who we gotta fight? Now she feels secure, like you on her side. And we can do that. But ladies, do you think that is a resolution, or do you think that is a reassurance? So, to your point, you made a valid point just now, and I don't want to gloss over it. The valid point you made, because of the scenario you gave, she felt insecure and she wanted reassurance. So, to your point, so for you making that being the scenario here, and this is the goal, is giving an reassurance because she's feeling insecure. This point you're making here
was open to receiving it. Provide the logic after you have given the reassurance. Most women would be more than willing to listen to you explain whatever you want to explain after you have said to her that you still love her and desire her and you still think she's beautiful. You're not thinking about any other woman. You still want to build a future with her and grow old with her. Grab her by her hands, look her in the eyes, sit her down on your lap, tell her these things, and she will soften to hear what you have to say. When she feels like she does not have security, she will provide her own, which looks like.
Now, like I said, for the scenario she laid out, and you're brilliant for laying it out that way, scenario, she's feeling insecure and she needs reassurance. So you literally gave the problem and the solution in one sentence, and you thought that it would go over our heads, because a lot of men, we are dense and it does go over our head. But the point is, you made the issue, you stated the issue, she's insecure, and you stated the resolution. She needs reassurance, all in the same sentence. So basically everything after that is basically you want to vent. And that's what the last part of this is we're allowing you to vent. We're allowing you to get it out your system. We're allowing you to go ahead and reassure you, I'm not going to leave you, and this, that, and another. And that's all venting is. It's not giving a resolution. It's just giving validation and reassurance. As she said, it's just the method of reassurance, and how you're reassuring her is what she's lending to us men. And it is great advice if reassurance is the goal. That was the brilliant part about it. She definitely, in this scenario, is absolutely correct. It might have went over my head a little in the beginning, but to her point, she's absolutely correct. I stand correct. She is right in saying, for that scenario, she is feeling insecure and just wants reassurance and wants you to give reassurance. This suggestion she given is exactly that. You're just reassuring her, hey, baby, this, that, and another. Thing is, why you got so much feedback is why you got so much pushback is because the scenario you laid out, the advice you gave works for that scenario. The issues that we sometimes have that disconnect men and women is not that scenario. That's a scenario that does happen, but usually the issue is not that scenario. And we speak to that scenario. And some of the points you made that we react of our reactions is not always to that scenario. We're not that dense all the time that we don't know how to reassure, don't know how to give consideration and compassion to our woman. What we do have an issue with is continuing coddling that insecurity. That's what we have an issue with, Sarah. It's not about the scenario you laid out. Where we have an issue is when you suggest that we coddle that insecurity instead of trying to help to resolve it. And let's continue to your suggestions.
Her hardening herself to create a guard, a shield, meaning you will waste precious time spending several minutes trying to explain something to her that is not going to get through. So again,
and you're right. And when we don't, it does harden up. Problem is, when do you soften back up? Let's say we give you the time. Let's say we hardened you. Do you hold on to it and allow it to build up into pent up frustration, hardening that now becomes an issue and a war between you guys? Do you harbor it, or do you release it when you quote unquote calm down, or you reevaluate, or do you still keep blaming him that he is the problem and he is the one that made you harden, when in fact he might have been? But when do we, and this is why I go back to the point of why what you said, when men innately try to get a resolution, or innately try to you said get competitive and see who's right or who's wrong. No, we're trying to get to the root of the problem. The problem being, now you're hardened. Now that wall between us is thicker. Now our home is not as pleasant as it used to be, because you're feeling like I'm the enemy instead of remembering that I am the person who loves you. You're feeling unloved. So now you're believing you're not loved. And now that belief becomes your actions. Now you're acting towards me like you would act towards a person who you don't love. That's the bigger issue that I think happens. Let's continue, and then we'll get into the rebuttal video.
Compassion before conclusion. It keeps her soft, problem solved, everyone wins. This is something that
So for that scenario, she's right. The problem will be solved for that scenario. Now, she got some rebuttal, and this is her what she said, and we're gonna go through this real quick because I don't want to make it as long as I made this one. All right, here we go.
help and heal herself before entering a relationship. However, so there were quite a few comments like this on my last post. I don't mean to single you out. I just chose yours because it was a very brief comment. I'm highlighting this because in response to my last post, many men are saying that a woman needs to deal with her own insecurities or seek professional help and heal herself before entering a relationship. However, I did not say that a woman felt insecure in my last video. I said a woman feels there is.
Wait, I got to stop there, because you absolutely said she felt she's insecure and that she needed some reassurance. And this is why she needed to feel security.
A lack of security in her relationship. And these actually have two separate meanings. When a woman is insecure, yes, that is her responsibility to heal. That's her dealing with her self-esteem, her opinion of herself, her confidence, or the value she recognizes she does or does not have. And when there is a lack of security in a relationship.
Wait a minute. Let me go back.
Men do unintentionally. So hopefully this can help you gain a better understanding from a woman's perspective. Scenario: your woman tells you that she isn't feeling very secure in the relationship and she is seeking reassurance. Now, you are the type of man.
Okay.
That means there's a reason to believe that the relationship is not solid. I did not say that a woman felt insecure in my last video. I said a woman feels there is a lack of security in her relationship. And these actually have two separate meanings. When a woman is insecure, yes, that is her responsibility to heal. That's her dealing with her self-esteem, her opinion of herself, her confidence, or the value she recognizes she does or does not have.
Okay, so you're right. I stand corrected again. She did say that the woman was not feeling secure in a relationship. All right. Now, here's another disconnect, is we often argue semantics. Insecure and not feeling secure can be synonymous. Let's just be clear. That can be synonymous, especially in the context that she used it. But she technically did say a woman is doesn't feel secure. So the interpretation, and this is where we disconnect often, is that we don't always hear or have the same definitions of words. So to your point, yes, she did say secure and not she was insecure. But there's a fine line between the two, and that fine line caused all of what we're discussing right now. Because, yeah, we missed it. I'll take responsibility. Or it was a technicality that basically was spoken. But either way, we'll continue to hear her point.
And when there is a lack of security in a relationship, that means there is a reason to believe that the relationship is not solid. There's a lack of stability. There's a lack of commitment. She may be questioning her position within the relationship. And there are indeed things a man can do to contribute to this feeling.
Agreed. There are things that men can do to contribute, and she's about to give us some examples of it. But again, the issue again is that she's not feeling secure. Okay, insecurity, not feeling secure, still a big issue. No matter how, if you're not feeling secure, and even with these reasons, it still goes back to that insecurity that you spoke of a second ago. But let's continue. Listen, I don't want to just take up all the time.
Think of it this way. If you're in a relationship with a woman who is inconsistent with her behavior towards you, she's hot and cold. One day she's head over heels in love with you. The next day you just can't seem to satisfy her. One day she wants to be with you forever. The next day she's ready to leave you. You may still be very confident in who you are as a man, but that does not mean you feel the relationship is secure.
Now, this is the difference between men and women. If we're feeling confident, yes, we believe the relationship is secure. That's just how we are. Confidence, it lends and breeds the fact that we're feeling insecure, regardless of how she's feeling. We're just thinking she's in her emotion. We're just thinking she's in her feelings and she's feeling she's going hot and cold. We have a lot of reasons that we have learned to understand of why that might happen. So it doesn't take away from our confidence. What you're speaking about is when we lose confidence from what you're speaking on.
Or perhaps you can relate to being in a relationship with a woman who you believe still seeks male attention and validation based on her interactions with men.
And we don't believe this if you are displaying this, you seeking male validation or attention from men. We observe it and we share with you. This is not a belief. This is not our opinion. This is what actually is happening depending on how you carry yourself. When you're in a relationship, you carry yourself differently. If you want to continue to carry yourself as you're single, it's not we're feeling or we're thinking that interaction her. No, we're not believing that. That's what it is. And that's where we have another disconnect. Because in women's world, we're believing that we're doing something that you're doing something that is making it. And we're like, no, you actually are seeking the attention. That's why you're wearing the stuff, because you want to feel pretty, because you want to feel like this and you want to feel like that. And so you're putting your feelings over your relationship. Continue.
Or the type of pictures she posts on social media, that may not make you question your ability to be an efficient leader, protector, and provider. You may still know your worth, but you may also begin to question how solid your relationship is. And that doesn't mean you need to seek professional help.
Yes, it does. It means that if we're feeling that way, there's no one way or the other. If you're feeling confident and you're feeling that you're a provider, and then you're doubting that, yeah, it's a possibility you might need to sit down with somebody. The same way you might need to sit down with somebody when you're doubting something that you're feeling. That's why it's called therapy. That's why we sit down with these folks, is so that we can get a better assessment and a better understanding of why we're feeling that way. But let's continue.
To heal from trauma, it simply means you'd like your lady to make some adjustments to help alleviate these doubts. Insecurity and lack of security.
But again, we can't be confident and doubtful. Those two things uh basically contradict each other. If you're doubtful, you're not confident, or you're not displaying confidence. You could, for example, when you go into a boxing match and you're boxing, when you initially get in there, you might have doubt that you might have fear, but you don't have doubt that you're going to lose that fight. You might have fear because you don't know how hard they're going to punch. You don't know if you can take it. You may have butterflies. But you don't doubt that you're going to lose. And when you do doubt, more than likely you lose. When you do doubt, it's not you lost your confidence. When you do doubt, you're not sitting there. Again, you lost your confidence. So yes, when you lose your confidence, you might need to sit with somebody to reestablish it. And that's a disconnect. If you believe that you can have doubt, yet you also you can have doubt, but you also can be confident, that can be an issue in itself. Just my opinion. Let's continue.
Security in a relationship are two different things. And since some of you seem to have adopted the belief that you are incapable of contributing to how your woman feels, here are a few examples of things one might do to contribute to the feelings of lack of security in a relationship. One, if you constantly say things like, just in case we don't work out, or whether we're going to be together or not, or if you're married and when you get angry, you mention divorce, or if you're in a relationship and whenever there's conflict, you say things like, well, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Any statements that suggest the future of your relationship is unpromising. Two,
that's cool, but again, you're lacking to it. If you're believing, like women women have a tendency to say things like, I'm not beautiful, and you know does that make us believe that oh, she's not beautiful anymore? Or what we do is we identify and we recognize that it's not. For example, you gave the example of they can help us feel that our relationship is insecure by saying that. You're right, but the difference is because of our confidence, we're not really um entertaining that. We're not really going to sit there and be like, oh, whoa. If anything, if that's how you feel, and our confidence will say, it's your loss, not mine. That's what our confidence will do. You're not really, by saying those things, tapping into our confidence or our security or making us feel the relationship is secure. All we're saying is you're making us feel that you might want out of the relationship. And if you do want out of the relationship, we kind of process it logically like, yo, it's gonna be your loss, especially if we're a good man. We try and reassure you that, yo, don't do that, don't say that. And we might ask you to against that. But anyway, let's continue.
if you suddenly show a loss of interest in your woman, you don't talk to her as much, you don't look at her as much, you do not touch her as much, and even when you're both occupying the same space, you prefer to spend time scrolling on your phone or playing your video game, you prefer that over engaging with her. The connection has weakened, the chemistry is lost, and she questions whether or not you still desire her. 3,
That's not her issue. That's not her feeling. That's not her losing secure. That's him having a disconnect. And yes, he needs to sit down on the couch somewhere. If he's doing these things, that's her observing these things. And yeah, she might feel that it's not secure, but the thing is not her. She's not the issue in that. He is. He needs to go and reassess how he has neglected the his responsibilities to his relationship. If he's doing those things, he definitely did. She's not feeling a certain way. That is a certain way. If he's disconnected like that, he is an issue. He has an issue. He needs to get it resolved. But let's continue.
If the interactions that the two of you do have together are mostly you pointing out what she does wrong, if you highlight her flaws and all of the areas in which you are displeased and dissatisfied in your relationship, yet you give little to no recognition and acknowledgement for the things she does well or for her growth or efforts.
That's cap, because usually it's not something yet you only point out her flaws. You will definitely point out her flaws. She just don't want to hear it. That's usually what happens. And you do say she's beautiful. She just ignores that. For example, if you get comments on your Instagram, the innate nature is that all of the good comments, oh, I love what you do, the only one that you really hone in on is the one that says, oh, you suck, you a piece of junk, nobody likes you, why are you even on the internet? You will hone in on that one innately. It's not just her, that's a human innate ability, and you have to do better and learn better how to better control that, not react to that one comment. You don't hear none of the other ones. So what you're speaking about is true, but the remedy is not the fact of ignoring what it is. You're cynical. You're leaning more towards the negative than you are the positive. And then when you don't want to hear that, you become the problem. You become the issue. And so if somebody is bringing it to your attention and you just don't want to hear that you're an issue, you're creating a further problem.
4, if when discussing your future, you do not include her in it, you say things like, I am going to have this, and I am going to do that, but you fail to use terms like we, us, our, that coupled with you not involving her in your current plans or goals may make her feel like she has no concrete role in your future. And lastly, number
Great advice. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And again, but it's not her issue, it's his issue. He is not including her. He is not doing the things that are necessary, and he has to work on that. That has nothing to do with her. He has to work on including her. He has to work on, I had to do that personally. He has to work on recognizing that, and you bringing it to his attention and pointing it out. He can't get in that same place that I just said you shouldn't get in, to where he gets defensive and be like, oh, no, 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 no. He needs to take accountability that he needs to do better at that. He needs to include and say we, and that's his issue. So I agree there. But you still shouldn't feel insecure because he has an issue.
5, which I think is self-explanatory, if you seem to be leaving your options open. So say you have been in a relationship with a woman for several years and you still have not proposed, there is still no wedding date, and your reasonings for not taking that next step just sounds like excuses to her. And if you have any questionable interactions with other women while she's waiting for marriage, it's going to seem like you're stringing her along and exploring those options.
And you're right, but this again is her issue now. This is her issue. She feels like you're stringing her along, which means you're not trusting you didn't ask him one, or what he said, and why you don't trust. And if you don't trust, there is no love. That's something that needs to be worked on. You need to sit down and learn how to trust again. He needs to be able to. He can be butt naked with "I love you" tattooed on his ass, spinning on his head. And if you don't trust him, you will not believe it when you see it on his ass. So you cannot help somebody's insecurity by reassuring them, so to speak. The insecurity needs to be resolved. They need to learn how to trust. They need to learn how to understand things better.
Right? Now, security means something different for every woman, but these are just a few examples, none of which mean a woman is too emotional or has too much trauma or isn't confident in who she is. She just isn't.
All of which is, yes, the woman or the man is either too emotional, uh, into their trauma. Yes, these are the issues, and let's not, and us ignoring them for the spite of their feelings. No matter who is the one suffering from it, is why we don't get good relationships and why we have so much disconnect.
Confident about the security within the relationship. So hopefully this helps you better understand the difference and how you could potentially be contributing to your woman's need for reassurance. So there were quite a few.
So I'll leave it there. Thank you, sis, for bringing that up. I thank you for us sharing it. I'm going to leave now. This is totally straight understanding. If you have any comments, please comment. If you have any If you enjoyed it, please share. If you like it, please like. And with that being said, tune in next week. We can rebuttal. Hopefully, I'll send this over and I can have a conversation with the young lady because she made some valid points. But as I said, some of the things that I rebutted uh, is what it is. We are to blame in some of those scenarios. The woman is to blame, but us ignoring the fact of who is to blame is where the problems lie. So this is Straight Talk, Lisa Straight Understanding. My name is Sean Bolden, Sean B, however you know me, and I'll see you next week. Peace. H2O. Don't forget to get you some.